Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we are ranking every single Pokemon series ever made. And by series, what I mean is Sword and Shield series, or Black and White series, or XY series. So I've ranked every single set of Pokemon cards, bar a couple, and I'll get to those in a second, into a series, and we're going to rank them from the worst series through to the best. I'd love to hear your comments down below. What do you think the best series of Pokemon cards ever made is? And I'm going to go through now and show you what I mean by series. They're all going to go in time order, so order from release, and then we're going to work on ranking them. So the first one I'm going to call base series, and by the way, all these snippets that I'm showing up on the screen here, these are all taken from PokeCollector.com, so that's a good website if you want to track your collection. Check out every single card released in each set. It's a really cool website, so that's what it's from. PokeCollector, not taking any credit for it, it's all him, so jump along if you want to look. But PokeCollector. So first set out, or series out, we're going to call them, is base series. So that's your base set through to Team Rocket, with everything like Jungle and Fossil in between. The OG, the rookie set. The next series, of course, which was a really small series, up on the screen here, was Gym series. Obviously only a couple of sets inside that one. Next one to come along, which was the first, of course, of Gen 2 Pokemon, is the Neo series. Next one to come along, which was the final Wizards of the Coast era, was the E-Card series, which obviously saw some great sets like, well, I shouldn't give it away. Let's talk about those later. But great sets like Skyridge, Aquapolis, beautiful sets, Expedition-based sets. So anyway, we'll talk those through when we rank them. Next one, next big cab off the rank, which is where I really got back in after a little bit of a hiatus through E-Card series, collecting Pokemon cards, straight back into EX series. It's got a soft spot, this one. Where's it going to rank? But this was the next one. Obviously, it started with Ruby and Sapphire and went all the way through to Dragon Frontiers? Power Keepers as the final set. Next one up, Diamond and Pearl series. Next one coming up was Platinum series. Then we have Heart Gold, Soul Silver series. Then we're starting to get into semi-modern now. Black and White series, moving along to where a lot of people took the game back up and printers really started ramping up, the XY series. Obviously with the release of Pokemon Go falling in between this era. Then we jump on, we're getting very close to modern now, Sun and Moon series, which left us with those 4 absolutely banger sets towards the end, the team up, or the tag team sets, I should say. And the most recent, well, nearly the most recent, of course, Scarlet and Violet's the most recent, but nearly the most recent, and definitely the most recent that we're ranking in this set, is Sword and Shield era, or series, I should say. Now, that's through sequential order. What we're going to do is rank them from the best set. Sorry, we should start with the worst set through to the best set. Now, there are a few honourable mentions. I just wanted to make note there's obviously some great promo sets thrown in throughout here, things like Pop Series. I'm excluding, so again, honourable mention, I'm excluding Scarlet and Violet. It's not complete yet. I think it's too early and perhaps a little bit unfair to rank it throughout these other sets. You've also got some standalone sets, and 2 of them, in fact, arguably 2 of the best sets ever made. Obviously, that fantastic Call of Legends set, which was just before Black and White era, which was a standalone set. And then, of course, you had the Fireworks Reverse Hollows. We're going to leave out that set because it's sort of the Legendary Collection, that is. Sort of a bit of a standalone set as well, I guess. Maybe you can rank it into the base set series, or maybe even the E series. I don't know, it's a standalone set in its own right, which was just an amalgamation of sort of those base series sets. So I think we're going to leave that by itself, Call of Legends by itself, some great promo sets, and we're leaving off Scarlet and Violet. So, first of all, I just wanted to say, give this a go yourself. If you've been an avid Pokemon card collector across the last 25 years plus, try and give this a go, because it is not easy. I was there scratching my head for probably a good hour, trying to think back, what set had this, doing a heap of research into it, where should I rank this, and you feel bad, what's the worst set or the worst series ever made? And in terms of ranking them, it was really hard to find a metric to rank them, because you can't base your metric off, well, which series has the most valuable cards, because of course it's going to be base series. It's not really fair on those modern series, which maybe have higher populations, people looking after cards better, maybe hasn't had time to appreciate properly like some of the older sets. So it certainly wasn't, this ranking system isn't based off of price at all. I just want to make that clear. It's not based off of price. It is, for my part, not really based off any metric, but a feeling. And that sounds a bit hard, but that's what it's based off. It's my personal list about what I think are the best sets, just based off a few things. The feeling it gave me, memories, the artwork, yes, somewhat to do with the value, how popular certain cards are, whether some cards are going to go down in history as nostalgic. It was just that sort of feel or vibe from the set. So that's how I've ranked them. Like I said, feel free, let me know what would your number one series be? What would your worst series be? That was almost harder than the number one series, trying to think what's the worst series of Pokemon cards ever created. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So if you break it down, there is 12 series. So I've ranked them from 12 through to number one. And again, these are my personal choices. Would love to hear yours. Now, number 12. Man, it was just so hard even putting something last, and I feel terrible. And I'm not going to go through and rubbish any sets, but I am going to, or series I should say, but I'm going to point out some reasons why I ranked these number 12 or 11. So I feel so bad, but something's got to come last. Number 12 for me is XY era. Now, that might sound harsh, but there's a couple of reasons why. Here's a question for you. Like, throughout the main sets of XY era, other than maybe the reprinted base set Charizard from XY Evolutions, what card holds huge value? Like, there's a few that represent or hold decent value, but there's not too many. And even the secret rares, like, secret rares from sets like Breakpoint with the, cool multi-Pokemon artwork, they don't hold that much value. I wasn't a huge fan of the artwork. Like, it was like overkill with full arts. Some of the secret rares just weren't that great looking. I don't know, there was just nothing that really stood out to go, well, geez, Pokemon have done a great job in this whole series. They've really revolutionized the artwork or some level of secret rares. It just seemed a bit like a bit flat. And now, don't get me wrong, there's some great sets inside there and there's some nice cards inside there, but, it was the time when Pokemon Go sort of re-insurged the whole trading card game scene as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not rubbishing it. I'm just saying something has to come 12th, and those are my reasons why it came 12th. What's your worst series? Tell you what, it is harder to come up with this list than you thought. Number 11 for me is Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Soul Silver series. That's a mouthful. Heart Gold, Soul Silver series. A couple of reasons why. I suppose the main sort of chase cards, which were those legend cards split into two, I've never been a fan of that. When I used to collect Dragon Ball Z Score, in the packs you got these little, it made like a 9-page big picture. I was just never a fan of that. And getting the two cards, like, it never felt like something whole. And then the prime cards where you really just, zoomed in on the Pokemon's face was a little bit of a strange concept to me. I just wasn't the biggest fan of this Heart Gold, Soul Silver era. Again, there's some beautiful cards in there, like the Umbreon Prime's an awesome card. Obviously, those break cards are pretty, not the break cards, that's XY era. The legend cards are pretty coveted by some collectors. But hey, that's my number 11. It just didn't really quite do it for me. Number 10, I chose Platinum Series. And the reason why is maybe somewhat like XY era. There was nothing really new. Like, it was this continuation from the Diamond and Pearl era almost, where you were still getting level X cards as the secret rares, but they didn't really put all those big hit chase cards. They didn't really put anything sort of real new into the artwork, or into whether it's the texture of the cards or the color of the borders or something. Like I was saying, it's just that continuation of the Diamond and Pearl Level X cards, and that's why it ranks number 10 for me. It just didn't really do anything new or exciting. Number 9, Gym Series. Again, only 2 sets, so I don't want to, and it's so hard. I tell you, that's the hardest thing, is leaving something vintage near the bottom of the list. Because I have some extremely fond memories of Gym Heroes and Gym Challenge. After we got through that base series, mates and I used to make decks. We sort of scrapped the base set through to Team Rocket and said, like, we're not allowed to use those in our decks anymore. We're going to be gym leaders and we're only using the Gym Hero decks. So I have some really fond memories of the Gym series. But looking back, and don't get me wrong, there are some beautiful cards in here. Blaine's Charizard is a really good card. Blaine's Moltres is a really good card. Like, even things like Remembering Surge's Pikachu. Like, there's some cool cards, and it was so hard to rank down low. And the other thing is, it's just because other sets are better. There's nothing wrong with Gym Heroes. Especially, it was such a cool concept too, because we all sort of had our favorite Gym Heroes or Gym League characters from the show and the game that, it was probably pretty nostalgic for a lot of people. So it's not that this is ranked low, it's just that there's some probably better sets, especially better vintage sets out there than this or series. Number 8 for me was Diamond and Pearl. I actually quite liked the Level X cards when they first came out. They were a pretty cool concept. And Diamond and Pearl had some bangers of some cards and some bangers of some sets inside there. The remake, obviously, of that original Charizard from the Stormfront series in Diamond and Pearl. That's a beautiful card, and it goes for big dollars. There's some other chase cards inside there that also go for some big dollars. So that's why I ranked Diamond and Pearl at number 8. Moving along, we're nearly halfway through. We're still in the bottom half, though. We're still in the bottom 6. Number 7 for me. And geez, it's just getting harder and harder as we go along. But number 7 for me was Black and White. One thing I loved about this set was those secret rares, especially the Plasma Storm. And man, does that booster box go for big money. And geez, it's almost classed as vintage now, like a vintage series, the Black and White series. It's, it's 10 plus years old, or just over 10 years old, not much, but just. So I guess you'd count it as modern vintage, I guess. But hey, Plasma Storm booster boxes go for big dollars. I love the gold borders on the secret rares, like obviously that Plasma Storm Charizard and the Plasma Storm Blastoise. Some big chase cards inside there. The secret rares from some of the other sets in PSA 10s have really low pops too, so they go for big dollars. And I think it just didn't quite make it to the top 50% for me, but geez, it was hard. So that rounds out sort of the bottom 6. What are your thoughts? Have I picked the wrong sets? Is it fair and reasonable? Let me know. Anyway, moving along to the top 6. And this is where it got particularly hard. In number 6. And it was hard because it has 4 absolutely stellar sets at the back half. But number 6 for me was Sun and Moon. And in fact, you could say 5 absolutely stellar sets if you include the holiday set, Hidden Fates. This was a beautiful, beautiful series of Pokemon cards, particularly those last 4 tag team sets, your Cosmic Eclipse, your Unbroken Bonds, your Unified Minds, the Team Up set. Like I was saying, it had that beautiful holiday set of Hidden Fates, which was a lot of shiny, original 151 Pokemon. I guess the only reason this didn't rank higher for me is because it had almost, the only downside I felt was, particularly a lot of the earlier sets, just this saturation of rainbow rares, which I wasn't really a big fan of. And frustratingly, that continued on into Sword and Shield. And maybe the first half of Sun and Moon wasn't all that great, like sets like the base set or Guardians Rising. They just didn't really do it justice. If those maybe first sets in the series had been a little bit stronger, it would have ranked a lot higher, because damn, those last 4 tag team sets and Hidden Fates are a beauty. So it helped it into the top 6 for me. Moving along, number 5, and this is just starts getting trickier and trickier. Number 5 for me is Sword and Shield series. Obviously, we'd just come off the back of it. It's been completed. It ended with an absolute bang, just or similar to Sun and Moon. It left us with some sets with some beautiful trainer galleries. It had the awesome Galarian gallery in Crown Zenith towards the tail end of the series. It also introduced us back, because Sun and Moon had them first, but it introduced us back to the start of single alternate art cards. And they just have this amazing sort of feel about them, the texture, the artwork, the look of them. It was just something completely new and fresh to the both the TCG and the collectability side and the investability side. So for me, Sword and Shield ranks at number 5. I really wanted to rank it higher because it's just got so many. You think about all the amazing chase cards that are in the Sword and Shield era. It's going to go down as a great one. It's a shame the first few sets, particularly, sets like Darkness Ablaze, that just didn't really set the world on fire, but what a great series. Number 4, and this is where it just continues to get harder and harder for me, and not because it's a bad set at all. Number 4 comes in as the Neo series. It's obviously the introduction of our Gen 2 Pokemon. It's, you got cards like the rookie Lugia inside there, which is absolutely phenomenal card in a PSA 10. Just some great sets. The Umbreons, the Houndooms, even like PSA 10 Slowkings and Yanmars that fetch massive dollars because they got such low PSA pops. It was just a fantastic series, and for me, it had to rank number 4 with the introduction of those Gen 2 Pokemon. Number 3, right, moving into the top 3. And this feels so harsh because this is where the journey started for me and probably where the journey started for a lot of people watching. But the base series, number 3, absolute, like it goes down in history, of course. First edition base set series. What a phenomenal set. Like, welcome to the world of trading cards. Base set Pokemon. Set things on fire right through to Team Rocket, which was the first introduction of a secret rare with Raichu. Yeah, secret rare Raichu. You've got, obviously the Dark Charizard, and then you've got Jungle and Fossil that fall in between. Base set 2. What a fantastic introduction to an all-new trading card game. Welcome to the scene, Pokemon, and rightly so, deserves a top 3 spot. Now, that leaves us with 2 series left. Now, ranking number 2 for me is the E-Card series with Expedition base set, Aquapolis, Skyridge. Man, there was just some absolute bangers in here. Crystal cards, your Crystal Celebi, Crystal Nidoking. Like, it was just Crystal Charizard, obviously, not to forget. The artworks, the holo patterns, the low PSA populations, the low print runs of the set. It was just, unfortunately, a bit of a forgotten, and I'll tell you the reason why, of course, is because by the time that E-Card series come out, most people, including myself, were starting to move into their early teenage years, and it was perhaps seen to be a little bit uncool to collect Pokemon cards still. But hey, what an absolute banger of a set. And, well, number 1, that leaves 1, and if you haven't done the sums or figured it out, it is the EX series. Man, this thing just brought it home. Every single booster box from this series is worth a huge amount of dollars sealed. There is some seriously strong value across all the sets in this series, from things like Crystal Guardians to Dragon Frontiers to Fire Red, Leaf Green to EX Emerald. There are some beautiful Rayquaza cards like the Gold Star Rayquaza. It's obviously the introduction of something new with Gold Star cards. The introduction where the Pokemon was sort of coming out of the borders for the first time, almost giving those sort of 3D vibes. It was just such a phenomenal series with some serious value tied up in it. And the booster boxes, I mean, look at them all. All the booster boxes are worth more than a jungle and a fossil booster box. Like, go figure, hey. I think, in my mind, it rightly deserves #1 spot. Some people might disagree or certainly argue with that point. They might think maybe the E-Card series does, or something like Sword and Shield with alternate arts deserves #1 with its popularity. Someone might think the base series deserves #1 because it's the rookie, it's the welcome to the scene Pokemon, you're here. Well, that wraps out the 12 for me. But do it to yourself. Set yourself the challenge. Try and rank those 12 series from 12 through to #1, and you'll realize just how much deliberation and time you need, because it is not easy. Again, in the comments down below, I would absolutely love to hear your feedback. What's #1 for you? What's number 12 for you? What sits in the middle? Have some homework. I'd love to see people's whole 12 sitting inside there. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. It's been a pleasure. Chat to you guys next time. Ta.